Welcome to Spirit Baby Radio. I am your host, Kelly Meehan, a citizen of the universe and a passage keeper and mentor for our new Earth children. I believe we are entering into a new psychic structure of our reality, and it is meant to embody deeper trust and ways into solid self-love and fearless integrity. Our new world energy of spirit babies needs us to consciously create within conception, trust pregnancy, and have freedom to birth and parent from innate wisdom. This is Spirit Baby Radio. Welcome to episode 188, a spiritual story of miscarriage and a healing journey. Introducing Spirit Baby Chronicles, a place to share conversation about Spirit Baby in the before life, the womb life, the afterlife, and the earth life. Today, we will be sharing a delicate and heart-empowering story and personal experience of miscarriage from a healer's perspective. My intention is that the stories we share give us healing to our own journey and unlock what lies in our own hearts. And I want to introduce Laura. Hi.
Hi.
And I'm going to read a little bit of her bio here. Laura Kerwin is a vibrational sound therapy practitioner and Reiki master, animal Reiki practitioner, communicator, and spirit baby whisperer. She owns a business called Prairie Vibrational Wellness. She has a passion for animals and studied to be a zookeeper. She also worked at her local Humane Society as their community cat coordinator. She started communicating with her spirit babies after her third miscarriage. She also lost her father to cancer. She works a lot with women who have also had miscarriages and who are trying to conceive. Fun fact, she was born in New Zealand and has lived in quite a few different countries before moving to Colorado, where she lives with her husband and her animals on the prairie. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Laura, for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, me and Laura go way back here. I don't even remember how back, but she's been a part of different programs and mentorships and experiences. And um, yeah, I feel like there's so much to who you are on that psychic spiritual level. And this is where I was just talking earlier. And I really want to share, many that are tuning in, that are listening, maybe you're watching the video on YouTube, you've had a miscarriage and maybe multiple miscarriages, and maybe you feel like you're a very spiritual woman and maybe even highly psychic. And I really feel like I really am just excited in a way to share this conversation, because I don't think anybody's really talking about it, because most women in miscarriage, they tend to feel like they're not spiritual enough, they're doing something wrong, and there's so much more to the journey. And I want to hear more about your own journey, and even Spirit Baby Whisper, like how did that even come to you as well?
Oh, that's actually pretty funny, because I became like a spirit baby reader for one of the places that I read at, and the friend, I was at a cacao ceremony, and my friend just said, you're the baby whisperer." And so I said, "No, I'm the spirit baby whisperer." And it kind of just like stuck, and I started calling myself a spirit baby whisperer.
I love that. We need Spirit Baby Whispers sprinkled all around the planet. And I love that, like, your people gave you that name and you're like, okay, I'll take it. But yeah, and so I know, God, there's so much to say about miscarriage and your own personal experience with it. And I'm sure each pregnancy and loss is very different as well.
Oh, they're so different. And in the beginning of the pregnancies, I always felt that connection with the baby. So I'd always feel it like deep down in my womb and this little tiny like light. And I knew that the baby was there when they were conceived. So
Mm.
having that connection from the beginning and not having that like not knowing that the baby was there, that was super hard for me when
Mm.
I knew that they weren't there anymore.
And what is that like? So you feel, I love that beautiful description. You feel like, oh, your baby's here. And a lot of women feel that too. And then they get scared, right? Or they go, "Oh my gosh." What was that like for you when you went through the loss? Like, what did you get, psychic messages or insights around that? Or is it just like,
Yeah. I kind of like had this feeling that the baby wasn't there anymore. Like, sorry, like there's some throat chakra stuff happening. Like the baby wasn't there anymore, and that um, I just knew for some reason when we went in that something was going to be wrong. So, and I also I was working at the Humane Society, and I was like, I ended up actually getting in a car accident on the way back home from work, and I felt like this, like I had this connection with the baby, and the baby was gone. Like
Mm,
that's kind of, and I know it wasn't the car accident or that the fault of that or anything. It was just like coincidental that they were at the same
mm,
time. But there was like this at the time, I felt like I blamed myself because I had gotten in a car accident. And it, yeah, it was just then just going in and being told, oh, yeah, the baby's not growing anymore. Um, and there's no heartbeat. And they hadn't actually even done an ultrasound yet. They just, I knew the baby was there, and I went in, and it was my 9 week appointment, and the baby uh, was at 6 weeks instead of 9 weeks. And so then they said, oh, let's just give it another week or so. We'll come back when it seems to be like 9 weeks. So we actually waited for 3 weeks to go back and be told again
oh,
that the baby wasn't growing. And that's like super frustrating for everyone involved.
yeah, let's talk more about that. It is so hard. And you're being told things, right? Because you're like, okay, I'm going to the doctor, midwife, like let's figure this out. But as we know, there's such a great mystery in the body and how you're tuning in. And um others I know feel the blame too. That's a big one. It's like, I did something wrong. It must be my fault. And, I always tell women that hear that go into that space. I said, that's just grief.
Yeah,
And
it
that's
is.
what you're gonna do because we're beings of love and we love our children, even if they're like a speck, a
Yeah, a
speck of
tiny little
a
speck in a
tiny
loop.
little the tip of a pen. You feel
Yeah.
that love and that heart connection already. And so when you were in communication, you felt that connection. But here's the tricky thing. I don't know if you've heard this too. Some women will feel like something's wrong, but nothing is wrong.
Yeah, that's
How do you
true.
find that balance? How would you energetically or like how can you what is your experience with that?
My experience with that is that, we do go through that fear. I think we all do. And then just kind of like the reassurance from the things that we do, maybe just kind of distract yourself in a different
Mm,
direction for a little bit as well. And just to remind yourself and do the affirmation that everything is fine. Like,
mm,
I am a good mother. My pregnancy is beautiful. My body is growing. Those types of things kind of shift that feeling. And I just got like, super feel really good just saying those good vibrational things to myself right now. Just it, and that's what I kind of say to people that are worried that, listen to your favorite music.
mm.
Listen, even if it's like depression music, listen to that music because for you, that's not depression music. That's like good vibing music for you.
Yeah.
So, or paint or draw or like do those types of things, because being focused on the what
Mm,
you don't know can be super scary, and babies will just be there when they're ready.
mm. So when you've had the miscarriage and each one is so different, and I'm sure there's a level of trauma to it, but if you feel open to share a bit more detail, what were you experiencing emotionally but physically in your body?
Oh yeah, so the first one, the first baby was it was a lot. It was very much like, that not knowing and having feeling like you're in limbo for, and there was no pain until the actual like miscarriage happened, but I had to
Mm,
wait. I had, I think I miscarried at 10 weeks. Like, even though there was, like the baby had died like at
mm,
6 weeks,
mhm,
my body was not ready to give it up. So that's the other thing as a mother, like your body doesn't give up on the baby, even if the
mm,
baby is like gone. You just kind of And I think that's even more so for somebody who has like is psychically connected to the baby because you're not letting go because you feel like you might still be connected. Um,
Mm,
and yeah, people say, it's just a miscarriage and everything,
mm,
but it is like having a mini birth.
mhm,
And I've never given birth, but I remember being in so much pain that I was just ready to be like, I'm never giving birth ever.
mm,
Like, because there were contractions, and I did pass like a huge, like, the clot was about the size of my fist.
mhm,
And that had a tiny, tiny little sack with the baby at
mm,
6 weeks in there. So I saw the baby when
mm,
I passed the baby and everything. And it's just, and I, for me, my scientific mind goes, "Ooh, that's cool. I'm going to take pictures as well." So I went and I have pictures of it somewhere, for my own, like, okay, this is interesting side. Um, Very emotional too for me, but I also had to be my scientific brain and go and go take pictures. Um, but yeah, there's I think that is super painful, and the second one was even worse.
mm,
And I think the third one was kind of in between, and it was very similar. And the second one, actually, my dad was here staying with us, and I like threw myself into the bathtub because I was in so much pain. And I like put an Epsom salt bath, like just Epsom salts in the bath, and I just remember that one I definitely was like, I never want to go through this again. I don't want to do it again. Um, and and it was even worse for that one because the baby stayed in my body longer too. Like each time the baby stayed in my body longer. So at like the third one was 17 weeks, even though the baby died at 6 weeks. So
wow.
it's
So you naturally, did you use any type of medications or procedures?
so the first one was a natural miscarriage that I waited for, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna do it this way. I never went to go get a DNC, but the second one, my midwives gave me the blue cohosh and the different things to
Mm,
help me miscarry, and that didn't work because my body held on to it. And I also, for that one, I think I was taking progesterone. So progesterone was keeping the everything in my body. And the third one, I definitely was on progesterone. And then I was given the misoprostol, um, and that didn't work to get to help me miscarry. So I waited for a natural miscarriage, even though I had like the herbs from the midwives. I still had them in the kitchen, so I went, maybe this will work. And nope, my body didn't want to do that, so it just kind of held on. So yeah, I could have done the DNC, but that might have been worse for my body. Um, but
it's tricky, yeah, to
yeah,
know what way to do it. And I'm sure it's, it's such an activating conversation because you're not
yeah,
alone. That a lot of women are probably like, "Oh my gosh, this is me." And I know that I've had seen women in sessions in the middle of miscarrying, and the energy of
hmm,
the auric field is very different, and it's very primal. And I feel that's when we need the most love, right? And like you said, you did give birth. That's what happened. Like I
yeah,
gave birth to full, full term babies. So yeah, it's not comfortable. We'll just put that nicely, but it's harder, I think, when you're giving birth and you're giving birth to a dead baby, really. It's just like death. There's no,
yeah,
like, I want to say reward of a live child. It's like, this sucks, this hurts. And then you're having to kind of do it on your own, right? Like, just, and not that we have to have, I feel like cats and dogs know how to give birth. But but people are a little different. We need each other, and that's so hard. And so I feel you, and I'm sure others here and like, "Oh my gosh, that's me." And so then what does the healing look like after? Like, what did you do? A lot of women do ask that. Like, I don't know,
yeah,
maybe you have a list in your head. I know you support miscarriage. It's like,
yeah.
what do you do after? You've just released the pregnancy. Your body now is wanting some healing, right?
Yeah, so I did the opposite of what I should have done
Oh.
after. So the first time I went straight back to work the day after my miscarriage, and like I actually bled for like 6 weeks.
Wow.
And that was normal, like because it's the same as after a pregnancy. You bleed for a long time after pregnancy sometimes. And it was like, and I was waiting for a period and, like all the things. And it was just like constant hiatus. I did try to like relax and nourish my body. I did what I would do when I was on my period. I would just, eat chocolate and do stuff like that. But I did feel super alone.
Mm,
The fir first 3 times, I feel like that I was, even though, and also, my husband also felt that way because we both were kind of in different places. He had to support me so he couldn't feel sad. And that's a really
mm,
sad part of like having a miscarriage. And I have had clients whose husbands feel exactly the same way. Like
wow.
they just feel super, super sad and they just think that they have to be the protector and not feel the feelings. But yeah, first, I do remember my first miscarriage, my dog escaped and I had to like chase him.
Oh my gosh.
And that was fun. And I had Jehovah's Witnesses come to my door, and I was like, I am not in the right mood for for this, so I need you to go. But yeah, I did cocoon a little bit. Um, Even though I had to, the other part was I went to work because that's what I knew, and I was just like, I have to be around the cats and I have to be around the people.
Oh, yeah.
But if I did it again, I would have said I need a week or two off because this is super important, which I did the second, I think with my second miscarriage, I did actually say I need time off because this is not something I can handle and I cannot handle the work. So it's advocating for yourself and saying, and even if they have to give you short-time disability, don't take it as a disability. Take it as a, this is a time of rest so that I can go back to work and do things properly. Um, my third one, I actually had already quit my job, so I had time, and that was the best thing for me. My friends gave me things. I got books and stuff. There's some books I haven't really looked at. It, because they weren't in alignment with me. But one of my good friends like sent me like maca supplements and different things with the little box with the little candle and stuff. And it's just like the nice little packages and those sorts of things. And I do remember, I think after my third miscarriage, my husband and I were only eating frozen meals because that's the only thing we could handle. So if I were to do it again, I would have preparation of meals, like just in case, having frozen meals in the fridge, or have people send frozen meals because accepting help at that time would have been good. The other part that the thing I really love, I have it right here, um, is warming pads.
Mm.
Like a warming pad on your belly, and I still do it. If I'm on my period and I'm feeling super sad or whatever, I put my warming pad on my belly, and this one has mugwort in it.
Oh,
So
nice.
it's super nice. But I also have this little bear called a chili bear that I got for my miscarriages, and it's like this little bear, and it's like blue, and it's got this little face, and I just like warm that up. It's got corn, like maize in it, and I warm it up in the microwave, and I put it in the bed with me, and I just curl up and drink water and drink tea, and yeah, you just have to do that.
I know a lot of women make those mistakes where, you know, like I did something, I shouldn't have pushed myself. You go to work, you're like chasing a dog, telling the Jehovah's to go away, you're going to
Yeah.
work. Like, and of course, there's a level, honestly, it's like, of course, there's a level of avoidance. It's like, this is big. I don't know what I'm doing. And those that are tuning in, it's like, it's okay to make mistakes on the miscarriage healing. And, but you said some really valuable things like the warmth around the belly, eating chocolate. But when you said that, I actually started to think about postpartum.
Hmm.
Postpartum, after we give birth, there's this idea, right, that you take 40 days to nourish your body back, that you could be bleeding for quite some time, that your body is kind of in restructure. And I do feel like we need to see that even with a miscarriage, birth loss, stillbirth loss as well. It's it's a hard place to go, but it's like you're having to go into your tenderness and nourish yourself. And something else you said that felt really important was like a meal train, like having
Yeah,
people bring you food because there's just no capacity. And it's like, and then you talk about even the fathers, like if there's a partnership with a male, father, it's like, what is their experience? Like they do have to try to hold it together, unfortunately, especially in American culture. We don't have a lot of forgiveness when it comes to bereavement and maternity leave. It's just like not a good country for it. It's like
yeah.
I don't know, nobody cares enough about the family system, but it's just perpetuated through our culture and through the working and the pushing. But I know we're trying to change that, right? Of course.
Yeah, we definitely are. And um I I kind of lost track. Um I think about, even the same-sex couples that have the same thing and the different roles as well that happen with that sort of thing. Because one parent is definitely the one that's,
Yeah.
protector. So it goes for everybody, as well.
I want to so let's go into, I'm curious. So the healing journey, and then of course you go into another pregnancy, and maybe you're, nervous, hopeful, not really sure. And then third, it gets really, I'm not going to pretend that that's not a big, huge deal, because now your energy of like, oh my gosh, I'm pregnant, but what, there's so much in that, right? And you're on the journey. What kind of spiritual connections do you have with your spirit babies? Like what can you say about that?
Well, each time, except for really the fourth pregnancy, I had like that same light in my womb. And I do like this, I knew when I was going to be pregnant. My body was like super, like, I don't know, it was just like, you're going to be pregnant. And there was this, I just knew when my periods were coming, and I knew that like after this time, baby would be there. It was kind of like, and I'd do this meditation, and connect with my heart and connect with my womb, and I'd see this green light in my heart and green light in my womb. And I actually started avoiding that after my miscarriages, like a little bit
Mm,
later. Like I recently have just been like not doing that meditation because I've just been like, maybe not. Um, even though I feel super healed, it's just like I'm not ready for that connection yet. Um, but when I was, and when the babies were coming, it was like this really strong light, and that's what I felt. I didn't hear them or anything until after my third. That's when I started hearing spirit babies, um, which is kind of cool. But I already had that psychic connection, which I'm so excited about the future for a full pregnancy and the different connections. So,
yeah, so I want to hear more about that, because so then
yeah.
you go from your spirit baby connections, you have a feeling, a sense, a light, and then you're hearing, like, do you feel like it's more of an inner thought or more of an outside sound? What would that be?
Yeah. Well, it sounds like a little kid's voice
Aw.
sometimes. And I'll hear like, there was one instance I was just walking past my horse and I heard, "That's my horse." And I was like, "Yeah, I know it's my horse." And I was like, "No, that's my horse." And I was like, "Okay, that's your horse." It's a little boy's voice. And I was like,
Mm,
"Okay." And I know that like babies don't always have a gender, but like this little boy voice and so the little girl voice doesn't come to me. I know there's a little girl and there's a little boy waiting for me, but I hear the little boy more often because I feel like I'm a little more connected to him because he
mm,
was, I didn't say this, but my third miscarriage, the baby actually had a heartbeat before
mm.
they died, and it was at 6 weeks. And I feel like that was a little boy, and I feel like that little boy is the one that keeps connecting with me. And then there's two little girls, but
Did I talk
um,
about a boy? Because I feel like when you were
yeah,
sitting here and you were talking, I felt a really strong little boy energy around you, and I was like, "Oh, I wonder if we talked
yeah.
about that before." I was like, trying not to like let my energy read your energy, but you know how it is with psychic people. Every like it just
Yeah,
kind of
we
like
do read
shows
your
up.
each
Yeah,
other's
I like, oh
energy.
wait, let me not, I'm not gonna look at that. That's none of my business.
Yeah. Well, I think you talked about twin energy with me, and
Mm,
I'm constantly, I even get like clients that have twin energy. And
mm,
if even if it's not like twins, it could be Irish twins, it could be something else. It could be like their soup babies are super close and they
mm,
and that sort of thing. And I just got goosebumps, which is something that the babies always do with me.
mm.
Like, yeah, it's that type of energy. Like and I will get like super like girly energy and I will get boy energy or I'll get nothing. Like they're
Yeah.
just not that they're not there, but it's just like somebody asked me like what the baby is and I'm just like your baby wants to surprise you. And then I'll pull a
Yeah.
card and the baby's like it's a surprise. Like,
Well, I like what you're saying. Let's go into that about gender because I know we've talked about that through
yeah.
like the academy and like it's such a tricky place because people still ask about it. And what I noticed, like I've had many of throughout the years, many of women coming, even though we like talk to a girl the whole time and then she's pregnant with a boy, she still comes and sees me because really it's the energy of the conversation, right?
Hmm.
It's like even though we don't know if it's a boy or girl, it's still a spirit baby. There's still energy there. And I think that's what people are realizing more and more now because you're right. There are sometimes it is hard to know the gender and some babies don't want, yeah, they don't want you to know. And there, I mean, look, the world doesn't have happy good surprises anymore. I want to say they have really crazy chaotic surprises, but it's really nice and I love that, yeah, that you're kind of tuning in and playing with it. And I felt that way with my sons. My second one felt very girl-like, but then one day I felt like he said I'm a boy and I was like, "Are you sure?"
Yeah.
I'm like, I was confused and everyone thought he was very girl-like too. And then even when he was Earthside, everybody thought he was a girl. I was like, wow, that's so interesting. And he has a very, he's totally a boy, but he's not like a hyper wild boy like my older one. He's very like calm, very reflective, very sweet, very sensitive. He plays well with girls and boys. My older one, he just wants to play well with boys. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's
Makes
interesting
sense.
because that
Yeah.
energy before is so accurate for women and men. I feel like that it's so accurate that connection to our children and you get to see like what then comes when they come earthside with some I always feel like surprises are good because I know we want to know a lot of things but I know me personally when I was pregnant with my sons I didn't want to know everything about them because I felt like a lot of pressure like I'm going to
Yeah.
hold them to this idea and who they've come to be and I said I need to know that they're going to surprise me and the earth is going to change its frequency and we're going to continue to, shift and change together.
Yeah, I love that. The boy that comes through is super super like your younger son, where he's just like he's got that feminine but very quiet energy. He's super
Yeah.
soft, and he actually reminds me so much of my husband. And I'm just like,
Mm.
that is totally my husband. And then this girl energy I get, I never get her like other people do when they're reading me. They're like, she's super bossy and she does this and that.
Ah!
And
You're
I'm
like,
just like,
what?
what? And that's actually not me. So I'm like, because I
Hmm.
was super shy and it's like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, this kid would have bullied me in school. Like totally.
That's
Um,
hilarious.
and I've seen her in dreams. I've never actually seen her in like heard her, but I
Mm.
the boy doesn't come in. Well, he sometimes comes into my dreams, but the girl comes into my dreams and she's super mean to me. And I'm like, "Oh
Oh
my
my
gosh."
gosh. You know, when you said
Um,
that, I have to tell you what I felt when you said that. I started to feel like there was a connection with grandmother. Like,
yeah.
it's like your grandmother, you know how we look at the lineage, right? And this is a good
Yeah.
story. Just the other day, we had to get rid of our leopard gecko. You're an animal person, and I felt bad
Yeah.
for this gecko. I was like, I've been like intentionally putting the energy out for like months because the cat like looks at it like it's its dinner. And we found this family and he was a 19-year-old boy and he started to share with me about how he looked like nobody in his family. And he had this long hair and this certain look, but they went back and they saw through different generations. He looked like this native kind of indie. And I was like, that's so cool. And when you said that, it made me go into like, oh, this bossy spirit, this is like your lineage, like like great grandmother somewhere is like, yeah, that's our energy.
It
Like
could even
almost
be
like
my
you
grandmother.
oh yeah, or you would even probably notice even they may look like them. Something to just keep note of, which could be really cool because we don't really know genetically or energetically together what's gonna like my children, I'm like, my husband's really dark skinned, Filipino, dark eyes, dark hair, and my kids are so white. Like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
like I don't know. But my firstborn did communicate. He did show me certain features that were very accurate. But I just thought my children would have a little bit more of melatonin, but I was like, you never know, but they do go back. So I almost feel
Yeah.
like that girl is like, how fun though. It's like you're so sweet and gentle and calm. And then you get maybe a firecracker of a little spirit, and then you just,
Yeah.
yeah, so you're in communication. Do your children then, do you feel like they speak to you through dream space, more through daydreaming?
Kind of a combination. I hear more like as a I can't clairaudience. I hear it more. But I do have dreams, and actually for the longest time I did not have dreams
Mm.
until I kind of started asking for the dreams to come, and then they occasionally come into my dreams. Like I had a really weird one when I was in where's that place? Beaver Creek in Colorado. It's like a ski resort. And I went to bed and I was kind of like, there's just this like guy looking over my bed, and I was like, who is he? And I
Mm.
realized it was a 20-year-old version of my spirit baby boy. And I was just like, okay, that's interesting. And he was just
Wow.
like protecting us. And I think he wanted to be conceived at that time. And I think he almost was, but like something kind of stopped that from happening.
Mhm.
And I think there's like it might have even been the sister being like, it's not time or something
Mm.
like that. Because those two are constantly gatekeeping each other. Like one of them wants to be born and then the other one doesn't. And then it's like they shift a lot. And that's been like the energy of my miscarriages, which I mean, part of my miscarriages have were because I had toxoplasmosis from working at the shelter.
Mm.
I found out that that was one of the puzzle pieces. But the other part has been energetic and not the right time. So it's kind of like the accepting of that as well. Um, but it's kind of the dreams are getting super vivid, and I'm starting to like see dreams of like I have a baby, but
Wow.
things are like not quite aligned. It's like, oh, the baby's just going to go there in the corner, and then I'm just going to continue with my work, that sort of thing. And I'm like,
Mm.
that's not what's really going to happen. But it's kind of like those like anxiety dreams, but there's still a baby.
Mm. I think that's
So.
important to share. A lot of women come to you, probably come, I know they come to me and they say, is there a baby? I don't feel my baby, after loss. And I usually, what I do with women is because they have to go through their grief, right? It's like it doesn't mean the baby's not there. But you've even felt that, you would say, or no, like after you're like, oh,
Yeah, I do feel like they're for the babies kind of go and then they come back when they're kind of ready. And like if I'm pulling cards, sometimes get the energy that there is babies and there's like time for conception. But I also kind of have that choice of like, no, this isn't the right time
mm,
as well, which is kind of interesting. Like they might be saying this is the right. I actually, this is funny. This is not quite what you're asking, but it popped into my head. A client came to me the other day, and she's not planning on having another baby. And she didn't even know she was getting a spirit baby reading. Like literally, she just walked in the door. She's like, "There's a reason why I'm here. I don't know what it is." And then she sees me, and she's like, "Are you the reader today?" Because she saw the reader sign. And she walks in the room with me, and I start doing the reading. And then I'm like, "Do you have a do you are you planning on having a baby? Do you have any children?" And then she's like, I do have a baby." and I did have a miscarriage. And I was like, let me look at that. I'm a spirit baby reader. And she's like, I can do that. And then I told her that her baby, like I pulled a card and it was the Empress. And the Empress on my cards had a baby tapping the mom on the head saying, I'm ready. And
Mm.
and I was like, your baby is going, mom, mom, mummy, mom, mom, mummy, like that, like Stewie thing, from Family Guy. And she just was like, okay, I get it. You're like here. And I was like, you can say to the baby, it's okay. Like I need time to heal from the other baby. And I think that's kind of like the sort of thing that I'm going through right now is like I kept wanting to, like I was so wanting to have my baby and now, or babies. Um, and now I'm kind of like I'm doing my work. I'm
Mm.
I'm in my business and the babies will come later, sort of thing. So I
Wow,
started like
yeah,
getting into that with like all these dreams and things. And I recently was hearing that my babies want me to go to Guatemala so I can become a cacao facilitator.
that's cool. I know
So,
we
and
talked
they've been
about
doing,
that.
yeah, and they've been doing this recent, like they did this with the being a spirit baby reader. They did this with becoming a vibrational sound therapy practitioner, and they did this with my Reiki. Like even though my dad was the one that said, because I had a conversation with him, somebody told me I should be a healer, and I'd already done Reiki. And then she said, oh, you should come and do my course. I'm a Reiki master. You can learn to be a Reiki master. So I talked to my dad, and he said, yeah, that's something you need to do. And then, like
Oh,
a few weeks later, he actually died. And
wow.
I did Reiki on him when he was in the bed dying. And I only knew Reiki level 1, but like the energy is there. Regardless of whether you know Reiki or not, you're healing a person or helping somebody heal by just touching their hand. But then after, like during that time, as I was like communicating with my spirit babies after my third miscarriage, I was like pulling cards and like hearing things, and it was like this like huge awakening of like knowing. Um, and the babies started guiding me to being. They were just like, you're a healer, you're a shaman. I haven't gone through like a huge shaman initiation, but I know a lot of shamans. And so I'm like, that's gonna happen. And then they're like, um, the vibrational sound came in, and then the people are coming to my vibrational sound. And then we finished the Spirit Baby Academy, and people are coming without realizing it.
Mm,
And, and then
yeah.
and the other part of it is I just getting these messages from them. It's like, it's not time, it's not time. You got to do this, you got to do that. And then next year, well, not next year, but like this year they'll be ready, but they'll be born next year. Kind of like
I see,
that's the
yeah.
energy that we're in right now. And it changes. It will change, but it might not.
Yeah, but this is so powerful because you're so connected, intuitive, and of course you can't, the soul of the children have their own mission, really.
Yeah.
And I feel like many of people know that feeling of like you're sitting and waiting, and but you're also doing all this healing work around it. You're processing it. It's like the cacao's calling you, the singing bowl is like doing what feels, I feel like, delicious to our own heart space as we're
Yeah.
just waiting, and knowing that that timeline is there is so powerful. And I'm hoping that, I feel like it will give some energy and light and hope to others that, you can be a healer and psychic, and guess what? You still experience miscarriage. It's not like there's some freedom in that. And then
Yeah.
it's so interesting, that story that you just shared about the client walking in. I was like, I think you were talking about me, because that was me when I had my son. And then I wasn't ready, but I felt like the energy, and it was really hard for me because I felt really, it was just intense for me. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I felt like he was waiting, and I was like trying to stop him. Like I wasn't
Yeah.
sure, and then people think I have this big age gap. I don't think that gap, that's not, Earth would see it as a big gap. I see it as perfection. Like it's just what it is. Like there was
Yeah.
no other way. And so it's funny when you share that story, it's like, "She's talking about me."
I think I'm talking about a lot of people because
Yeah.
there, I mean, some of my other clients, they're like, I really like want to get pregnant, but then I don't know if I'm ready. Or they like, they're going through IUI and they're like, oh, maybe this isn't the time. And then if they've
Mm,
had a miscarriage, and then they're like, the baby that I miscarried, I wasn't ready for, but I realized I was. And then I'm like,
mm,
just talk to your baby. Like it's really, really easy. You can do it. Like they can listen to the music and bring them in, and those people are now pregnant
mm.
and waiting for their babies. And it's just like, wow. It's amazing. But it's just like giving that energy to that and seeing if what happens.
And it sounds like you're just, yeah, I love this. Again, you're doing the healing work. You're like just remaining open and just kind of listening to what the timelines are and how they shift. And it's like, okay. And to sit in our bodies, to just, I hate to use the word patience. Because I
That's my
know a lot of women will
lesson.
say, a lot of women
Yeah.
will go, I've had this miscarriage, whether it's one or more, and then they're like, but baby said they were here. I don't understand. Like you probably hear
Yeah.
that one a lot. And I'm like, well, yeah, baby is still there. And our earth reality is so different than the way energy moves. It's like you feel them, you know them. And it sounds like you allow them to just kind of pop in, maybe even. Maybe there's times where you feel more, oh, I'm going to go and connect, or other times where it just pops in.
Yeah,
And
that's
yeah.
how I feel. And actually, you just reminded me that when I was younger, and like I think it was high school, I kept having this dream of three children. I didn't, and they were my three children, but they were in this house that I lived in England. It was on a golf course, and I just remember that there's this like kind of little bit of a conflict with them, and they were outside. And so I kept like that kept like being a recurring dream, and that hasn't
Mm,
happened for the longest time. And I was just like, and I like my husband wasn't in the vision or anything. It was just, and I was barely in the vision. It was just they were these three children, and they
mm,
were teenagers. And they definitely weren't my brothers and I, because it was the opposite. Because my brothers are, it's me and two brothers. And these
mm.
children were like a boy and two sisters. And I was just always like, this is interesting. It's
Yeah, I love that, being curious and open. You're like, and this is a good thing too, because it's like we want the answers, right? It's like you talked about
yeah,
your science mind coming in, but then it's like, okay, I really don't have an answer. And
yeah,
and I feel like we need to give space for that, right? It's like, okay, I have no idea. But it's like to me, it's like, oh, but at least you're seeing it. You're seeing some story. You're going, okay. And then you're just kind of listening, like it's keep listening and unfolding. And I want to hear, kind of coming to the end, just any final like messages you can share with people of just encouragement, and also after that, just ways that people can connect with you and your work as well.
yeah. I think, for just encouragement, that if you feel like a spirit baby is there, they definitely are. And then connecting with them is, it can be, I mean, you can go through one of us too, but it's super easy to connect to your baby, especially when you figure out what the connection is. Like if they come to you through music or through, well, sound therapy is the same as music almost. If they come through to you through like a poem, if you're reading a poem and you just feel that energy, and if you start reading your favorite book when you were a child, like children like that like energy, and they like symbols, and they like that sort of thing. So sometimes you might see things and you don't realize it's your baby's telling you that you're going in the right direction. I actually have a client that doesn't even have a partner yet, and her spirit babies are guiding. Oh, I almost like got like choked up. Her spirit babies are guiding her to her partner, and she's done the steps to get to the place that he could be at. And it's just like trusting your intuition. Yeah, just trust, because it can seem like you're going crazy. Like, and you might feel like you're hearing voices, and you are, but it's not the same as like, and my husband's gotten used to this. He's just like, okay, I see your spirit babies are talking. I've even given him readings, and the spirit babies have been like communicating through him, and we have exactly the same like stuff that comes out of the readings. It's really cool. So if you feel like that's happening, it is.
I love
So
that. So how
yeah.
can people get a hold of you? I know
Um,
you have like kind of a base there, but you work all around the world.
yeah, so you can find me on Facebook. I sorry, at Prairie Moon Vibrational Wellness. That's my name on Facebook. I also, I mean, you can call me. Um, can we put that in the podcast?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, the
yeah.
contact information will be available through the
Okay.
podcast, but I don't know if you have an Instagram.
I do, and it's Prairie Moon Vibrational Wellness as well. I kind
Okay,
of they're
perfect.
both the same. And what is the other place? Yeah, those are the two places to find me. I will have a podcast of my own at some point, called The Spirit Baby Whisperer. I just haven't figured out what I'm talking about yet, which I mean, because I'm all over the place. I mean, you can see that like we went from one thing to another, but that's how we work. So,
Sounds
yeah.
excellent. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
And I want to thank everybody for joining episode 188, A Spiritual Story of Miscarriage and a Healing Journey. Thank you for joining Spirit Baby Radio with your host, me, Kelly Meehan. Please join my community and stay in touch with monthly energy rants, Spirit Baby poetry, and get access to Spirit Baby 101 with tips and practices at my newsletter at newearthchildren.com. And join me on Instagram with lives at Spirit Baby Medium, and join the Mighty Networks, the Spirit Baby Collective membership, and Motherhood to Mediumship. Remember, you are the heart that holds communication, and it is your time to connect. Come share in the great shift of your mind and the true spirit of your heart with Spirit Baby Communication.